I will just say one thing, and this is incredibly important, particularly for those students who are about to or who have hit the age of 17. It's just as important for the ones underneath, but the ones 17 or over need to get this now. There's been over 100 students in in Queensland last year, more, arrested for an offence relating to the possession, distribution or production of what our community calls child abuse material. Our community doesn't think this is funny. Do you know why those laws were instilled in our community? It was to protect young people. It was because adults out there were abusing children to create that material. They are the scourge of our society, and when they get arrested, they get sent to a prison, and guess what happens? They get put in a separate section because the other prisoners hate them so much. Also, it was invented, instilled in our community because of adults who are abusing children and using that material for financial gain. I'll tell you what these images are. It comes under the definition of child abuse material. It is a picture, a video, or a description of what is or appears to be a person under the age of 18, and that image, picture, or video, or description is sexually explicit. It is a crime to have possession of those on a device. People get arrested for that. And do you know what, guys? I can have a look on the face of most of you, and you get it. You're not the one that's going to have a problem. Do you know who's going to have a problem with this? The people who sit there and think, oh, this is just a bit funny. It's normal. It's a joke. Everybody's doing it. They're the ones that are going to be sitting in a police station, wishing that they weren't there. Guys, if you have been engaged in this, I understand it's so easy. It's just the press of a button. And I'm not here to judge people. I'm here to tell you the truth. This is a very serious issue. Do you know what? This is not normal behaviour. It never has been and it never will be. Never let anybody convince you that normal people do this. People who don't understand the world that they're in, that's who does this. And these offences weren't invented for you. They're invented for serious criminals. But young people are committing these offences at the press of a button. Guys, the community, and you know when the internet gets you? When you least expect it. And do you know where it comes from? Where you least expect it to come from. And do you know what happens? No one gets rewarded for dealing with this sort of information. It is a serious criminal offence. The people who think it could never happen to them and engage in it have no idea what technology is all about. So guys, you protect your future when you go, whoa, I do not deal with that sort of material at all. I don't think it's a big deal, but I know my community does. I do not deal with it at all. Not only can people be arrested, which will change their whole life, it's the embarrassment, it's the humiliation. There is a young girl in America, and she had a explicit image of herself shared among people. She ended up taking her own life. The people that shared that photo were then investigated for murder by the police because they could show a direct link between their actions to embarrass that girl and her death. Do you know when you hear those stories, how could any reasonable person think that there's any reason for me to get involved in that? Why would I do it? What's it going to give me once now I've weighed up the possible consequences? So guys, the community doesn't think it's funny. And I want to give you an example. I know I've only got a little while left, but I want to give you an example. You're walking through the food court. Because the action of sending those images is called sexting. But I want you to imagine this. You're walking through the food court in Toowoomba and there's hundreds of people around and you look through the crowd and you see someone you like, whether you've met them before or not. And you walk up to that person in the food court and you stand there and you take all your clothes off. Now, can I say something? You've just taught me something. You've let me know that you know that that is ridiculous. Some people laughed. Some people thought, what are you talking about? It's ridiculous. I mean, why would you even say that? Stop talking. I mean, why say that? Do you know what, guys? Do you know what you've just told me? That that's not normal behaviour. That is ridiculous. You just wouldn't do that. You could get arrested, embarrass yourself. You could put people off their food. You just don't do that. You see, you've already told me. You've told me it's not normal. It's ridiculous. You know what would happen? The police would turn up and that person would be arrested. Do you know when people engage in the act of sexting, the forward of a sexually explicit image of oneself to another, that's exactly what they're doing. But they just don't think about it. They do it impulsively. They think that only one person's ever going to see it. In a community with 3 billion people, they've got no control. They're putting an image of themselves into a community where they've got no control and potentially 3 billion people can get it. You've already told me it's ridiculous. It's not normal behaviour. It's never been normal. It's not something that a mature person would ever consider doing. And maturity's got nothing to do with age. It's got to do with mindset. So guys, don't get sucked into thinking, oh, you know what, everyone's doing it. If I want that person to like me or if I want to get what I want, this is what you do. Guys, you've already told me it's ridiculous. And like I said, it can destroy lives, families, and communities. Even if you don't want to think about yourself, think about your parents. Think about the people you respect. Do you want them sitting down at a police station or other parents knocking on the door saying, look what your son did? How would that make your parents feel? Guys, why am I being heavy? Because these things are heavy. I'm not saying people do it for heavy reasons, but we need to start thinking like this and consider this.